What's good, y'all? It's your boy D-Lou back at it again with another banger video, and it's been a long time coming. I've been excited to cover and talk about this topic, but we're going over the Michael Jackson movie. And for those of you who don't know, if you haven't seen this video, if you haven't seen the movie, I advise click off of the video and then come back when you go see it. All right, click off. Good. All right, for those of you who are still here, I'm assuming you either seen the movie or you just like, hey, I'll watch it eventually, but I want to see what you're going to do and what you're going to cover. So bet. Cool. All right, so I seen the Michael Jackson movie 2 times. Probably going to go either right after this or so, maybe see it a third time or so. But there's been mixed reviews and criticisms about the Michael Jackson movie. Some fans are just like, no, I love it. Like, it's a concert. And some fans and some critics are heavily scrutinizing and criticizing the movie. And it's showing in the reviews, like, it's pretty much just has a split review based on Rotten Tomatoes and just the fans who genuinely do love the movie. And I'll give my final thoughts, but I want to cover this brother who's covering this topic. The Michael Jackson movie was yeah, so we're going to get into it. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to share this video with a friend so that we may continue to grow into the people that God wants us to be each and every day. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Let's get it. Gang. Michael Jackson, here we are. Let's get it. Let's get it started. Let's get it cracking. All right, let's go.
All right, guys, I just got back from watching the Michael biopic. I took some time to get my thoughts together, and we got to talk about this because so far the movie is not getting good ratings on Rotten Tomatoes.
I love my family. I just want to do my own thing. Just have all these ideas in my head. Just got to get them out.
Now, unless you're new here, you know that I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. So I'm
Me
going
too,
to try
brother.
to be as objective as I can be with this review. That being said, it was fire!
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It was.
It was amazing. Now,
The movie was
it
awesome.
wasn't perfect. But it was good, man. We're going to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Now, I'm going to save Jafar for the end because there's some things I loved and there's some things I hated. Let's get into this.
Interesting.
Now, I want to start with comparing a few things from the biopic to the Jacksons' An American Dream. Now, it's not a one-to-one comparison because the Jacksons' American Dream was more of a mini-series. They had, I think it was about 4 hours, so they had a much longer time to fit a lot of things in. But I think it's just a natural comparison to make. And I think the American Dream movie did a way better job at the childhood era, which I guess is natural because that movie was more about the Jacksons as a family versus just Michael. But it's hard to ignore that this movie did fall short on some areas with the childhood arc. In American Dream, you got to see more of the brothers, more of their personality. They had more lines, which they didn't have enough time here, but I think they could have put a little bit more of that here. Another thing with the American Dream is I felt that Jason Weaver had a little bit more.
All right, so before we continue, he is right. I feel like there was a lot left to be desired with covering the first section of the movie, covering the Jackson 5, covering Jermaine, Marlon, Jackie, Tito, and Michael. But I guess we didn't know the movie was going to be two hours or so. So that's a lot to push in if we're talking about a biopic, movie of the Michael Jackson and covering the origins of Michael Jackson, starting like the Jackson 5, and then him venturing out into his solo career and then going into the Jacksons and then just ending it. So I get what he's saying, but in reality, and even for us as fans too, it is a lot to be able to be like, hey, like, we want you to cover everything in the span of 2 hours or so. Hence why there's a part 2 coming out. For those of you who don't know, they announced that part 2 is going to start filming early 2027 and is going to be released probably like 2028, early 2028 or somewhere around that. But I get what he's saying, but in reality, they were only able to cover so much because they had to go on from the Jackson 5 in order to go on to other things. But let's continue.
energy. He brought a little bit more energy to the character than this young Michael. This young Michael wasn't bad, don't get me wrong. When you compare it to young Michael in American Dream was just gave you a little bit more. Now, as we get to the teenage and the adult years, the biopic was definitely better. This one was much more about that later time. The American Dream it did go up to victory, so it did go into a little bit of the adulthood. But this one overall definitely takes the cake from teenage and up. You still got a lot less from the brothers, but there's a lot of other elements to it that makes this one better.
It's
Now,
a
the mom,
biopic about
Katherine Jackson,
Michael.
I liked her better in
so-
American Dream too, not just based on acting because Angela Bassett is a legend. She can't be touched, but the way they wrote her character, she just had more to do in American Dream versus this one. Again, I'm considering the fact that they did have less time, but she really had nothing to do here. It was just a lot of her looking around and giving certain looks to Joseph or certain looks in the background. But I wanted a little bit more from Nia Long in this one, which is not her fault. She's great, but the way they wrote her character, she really just felt like she had nothing to do.
Agreed.
Now, this next thing I'm about to say, I don't think it's a spoiler because it really doesn't affect the movie either way. But just in case, I'm going to put a timestamp here that you can skip to. But I'm pissed, y'all. I'm pissed.
What you
I don't
pissed
know
about,
how,
man?
I don't know why, but they didn't have Janet or Rebbie.
Yes.
Now, yes, the movie's about Michael, but it was just weird to see them at home when they're children. And, you know, Janet's the youngest, Rebbie's the oldest. So it was just weird because throughout the whole time as they were growing up, and then even when they went to L.A. and they were teenagers, you never see Janet. It's just LaToya. So it all.
Yeah, it's very weird to seeing the house. Like there's the Jackson 5, but then there's also LaToya, but there's also Janet and then the oldest. So it's just like, why are they missing? And obviously they didn't want to be a part of the movie for their own reasons. And we have to respect their right to not be a part of the movie. But it just makes you wonder like why they weren't mentioned. And then also like why Diana Ross wasn't mentioned either and why she didn't want to be a part of it. And like the whole, well, I'll let him cover it and see if he brings it up. But if not, then I'll bring it up in my final discussion.
Almost seems like Janet and Rebbie don't even exist in the universe.
For real.
Because they don't even mention them. So I did a little bit of digging because I wanted to see why at least Janet wasn't in the film. And I found this interview clip from LaToya, which is disappointing, but this is what she said.
Did you miss not having Janet in the movie?
I wish everybody was in the movie. So.
Did you try to convince her and say, let's do it?
Well, she was asked and she kindly declined, so you have to respect her wishes.
Fair.
We got to talk about Coleman Domingo. Coleman Domingo was almost my favorite part of this whole movie. He's really been killing it lately because I loved him in The Color Purple. Now, I never finished watching his show, The Madness, but the episodes I did see, he was incredible with his facial expressions, just acting, by himself. He really stepped into that show as the leading man, and here he just took it to another level. His rendition, I guess you could say, of Joe Jackson.
Yes.
It was incredible. We weren't there, so we don't know how Joe Jackson acted.
Yeah, Coleman Domingo, props for Joe Jackson, because there were some things like some facial expressions that he done to a T, and I wish we could have seen when certain stuff happened in the movie, what the facial expressions was like for the actual Joe Jackson in real life. But Coleman Domingo, really good work on his portrayal as Joe Jackson in the movie. He has my 10 out of 10 review for him.
Actually was at home, but this version that he brought, he actually made Joseph a more scarier character than in American Dream, which I don't want to keep comparing it to American Dream this whole video. Joseph's character in American Dream was terrifying, but in that one there was a lot of big actions and big moments where he's chasing them around and he's real big-eyed, which made him look scary. But this one, Coleman Domingo, he's calm. It was the way that he would just kind of look around and say little things and his mannerisms that made him feel more like a villain or something from a horror movie. It was.
Yeah, Lee and my partner, we were literally talking about this, how Coleman Domingo, like the way that they wrote his character and his acting, it really gave like villain, like Scar type of vibes, and that's really goes to speak to his character because he was like in the movie, he was the bad person in this movie for what he put the Jacksons through and how he pretty much deprived Michael of a childhood. But he's the one that found the talent and ultimately cultivated the talent and brought it out to the sun, to the spotlight, and for them to be discovered. Granted, his methods were highly questionable, but I think Joe was given needs to be given some credit for at least discovering and trying to bring out and cultivate the talent. His methods were definitely questionable and are to be questioned for him to be held accountable, but this one he definitely like Joe definitely seemed like the villain Scar type in this movie. So let's continue.
Was great. Now, obviously, Michael's the star, but Coleman Domingo as Joe was really the one pushing the movie forward. Now, something in the movie I really didn't like, which I touched on in my last video about the biopic, John Branca. He's running the Michael Jackson estate right now, and he's one of the producers on the movie. And I just don't like the fact that he inserted himself into the film. Like there was no need for him. And I kind of see what Paris Jackson was talking about when she says that he's using the estate to enrich or to just kind of promote himself. Like there's this scene that makes him out to be this main character or this, like he's so important to the story. It just felt shoved in there and really weird. So that's something that I didn't like. Now I want to talk about some of the...
Yeah, no, that felt very forced and just like out of nowhere. He's like, hey, we're inserting this character. And boom, it's just here and be like, yeah, he's important, but in reality, he really isn't. It definitely felt more like a self-insert and just like, okay, well, where is this going to lead to? What is this going to benefit the movie and how is this going to push the plot forward? But let's continue.
The side characters, Lorenz Tate as Berry Gordy did a great job. The hair, the makeup was on point. He pretty much looked just like him. And then him and Michael had this really sweet moment that I really liked. Kendrick Sampson as Quincy, I didn't like him. He just felt boring to me. And I think it's a little bit on him and the writers too, because they could have given him a bigger role than John Branca, because Quincy was a laid back guy, but they could have showed more of him doing the arranging and getting all the musicians and people together. When you listen to interviews of people who were there during the making of Thriller and Off the Wall, they talk about how Quincy was pivotal to putting the right people in place, getting people together to make the album, and how he was the whole conductor of that whole thing. But here, I mean, he's in the background. He just didn't feel important.
Quincy viewed his role as a producer pretty much like a film director. So everybody that participated in his projects, he saw them as an actor, So-and-so would be perfect. It's perfect for this role. So-and-so is perfect for that role,
Now, for the brothers and LaToya, I mean, there's not much to talk about, right? They didn't really show them much. They were more so background characters, which is fine. All of the actors did a good job with what they had, but I wish they would have just had more to do. Now, I talked about young Michael a little bit earlier. Giuliano Valdi, he did a good job. He actually looked like young Michael a little bit more than I thought he would in some spots, not the whole time, but it was just a couple of moments where he really looked like young Michael. I love the way he danced, and I think he deserves some shine as well. I know Jafar's getting a lot of shine, but he did a good job as well.
He did.
Now, earlier I said Coleman Domingo as Joe was almost my favorite character. But Jafar, he really blew me away, man. I know it's a long shot, but I think he should be in the Oscar conversation.
Yes,
what stunned me the most was his speaking voice. Like, if you go listen to any Michael Jackson interview, Jafar, he sounds exactly like that all the way through the movie.
Just have all these songs in my head. Just gotta get them out. This is what I was put on earth to do.
Ever since we were kids, we've always wanted to dance or keep the time to the music. And that's part of us. It's like something we have to have.
I don't know what he did to get to that point, because you hear a lot of people that impersonate Michael and try to talk like him. It sounds good, but you can hear that they're putting on a voice. But this one, it just felt so natural. It just felt like that was the way he spoke. And I was honestly doubting Jafar before seeing the movie. I don't think I was excited as some other people were to see it, because I don't like Michael Jackson impersonations or reenactments or anything like that. But this was not an impersonation. I mean, he really did embody Michael. And you have the impersonation.
Look, let me tell you, what he said right there was pivotal and crucial, because there was this scene at the very end of the movie. Again, spoilers. If you guys haven't seen the movie, click off. But for those of you who know, when Michael was getting ready to go out on the stage to perform Bad in London in 1988, I believe, There was a moment where like when Jafar looked back at the camera for a split second, that didn't feel like Jafar. Like, it's Jafar playing Michael, but in that moment, that was Michael right there. I promise you. And when he looked over his shoulder, that was Michael. It just felt for a split second that Michael just came back and was just like, my nephew is doing this thing. And that energy when he was jumping and everything, getting hyped, getting ready, and then just him looking back over his shoulder at Bill, that was the move right there where he encapsulated Michael perfectly. Jafar Jackson, 10 out of 10 for real.
Impersonators like Fabio, who, looked the part, and the Jacksons' American Dream was great, but I don't think Willie Draper or Jason Weaver really looked like Michael. And I don't know what the hell this movie was thinking right here. If you have not seen Man in the Mirror with Flex, go watch that if you want a laugh or if you just want to get angry, because that was a horror movie. I don't know what that was. But there were moments in the Michael biopic where I literally forgot I was watching a movie. Now, like I said, it wasn't perfect. There were some moments where the makeup looked horrible, but they were few and far between. But those few and far between moments, it was pretty bad. One moment that comes to mind was the Thriller video. Now, not the zombie makeup. The zombie makeup looked good. At the end, after he's a zombie and then he turns around and he's himself again singing. In the movie, it looked really bad. I don't know why, but it was just, the complexion was off, and then it looked, I don't know, like it was something under, I guess the prosthetics you call it. It was something like his face was looked lumpy. It was really weird. I don't know. It's funny because as a zombie, he's supposed to be scary, but when he turned back normal, he looked scarier than the zombie. And I was like, I don't know if they were drunk that day. Something was off, because there's other moments. Most of the time, he looks great. The makeup looks good. He looks exactly like Michael. He looks indistinguishable from Michael. Moments that were simple, where he's not necessarily performing on stage. Like he's in the pool, he's in his room writing, he's just kind of chilling or talking to somebody, where he looks exactly like Michael. I know it sounds like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but when you see it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Not the whole movie, but there's some moments where you're just like, damn.
Yes.
That's Michael.
Exactly.
Now, if I had to say one thing that was perfect, it was the dancing. Now, all I'm going to say is there's two performances at the end where I literally thought I was watching a concert. I'm not going to say what the songs are. I'm going to let you guys experience it for yourselves. I know it sounds like I'm overhyping this thing, but I watch a lot of clips of Michael for the channel and just throughout my life, and Jafar, he really nailed this. When you think about the impersonators, they have the look. And then when you look at the dancers or people who know how to imitate Michael's movements, but Jafar, he kind of just puts everything together with the singing, the mannerisms, the way he danced, and then the facial expressions and the voice and everything just pulls it all together. Like I said, I was skeptical at first because in the lead up to the movie, in the promos and the interviews and everything, they were talking about, he embodied Michael, he really embodied him. I'm thinking, okay, they're just trying to sell the movie.
For real.
But yeah, no, he did it. He did it. So now it's time for me to give the movie an overall score. And I don't know, this is tough because you got to look at it from the biopic standpoint and you got to look at it from, a movie standpoint, like as a movie. And I got to say, 8 out of 10.
I agree.
Got to give it an 8 out of 10.
Yes.
From all the biopics that I've seen, at least, this is up there with some of the best, with the best of them. Jafar and Coma Domingo, their performance was so over the top for me. I can't give it a perfect score because of those things that I mentioned. There were people missing, and I wanted more out of some of the characters. But yeah, overall, 8. Now, from a pure cinema standpoint, it's not going to be ranked this high. I see headlines that critics are giving it bad ratings, 37% on Rotten Tomatoes. I can understand if you're comparing it purely based on cinema and you're comparing it to stories that were specifically made for film. But when you're doing something like this, where you're adapting someone's life into a movie, there's only so much you can do. So at the end of the day, this movie is a lot of fun. I would definitely go out to the theater to see it, not wait to watch it at home, especially in IMAX. For the performance scenes, You're going to want to see it with the big screen, and you're going to want to see it with the loud sound system.
Agreed.
Trust me. So if you already seen the movie, go ahead and comment down below. Let me know what you thought about the movie. Try not to...
All right, boom. We're gonna cut it right there, and I'll give my final thoughts. I agree with most of everything that Jay Diggs said in this video, where it felt like at certain moments that the makeup on Jafar, it looked a little bit off, but it was so far in between. But most of the time he looked like Michael, he sounded like Michael, he moved like Michael. Like Jafar mastered the art of being Michael, from the dance moves, his aesthetic, his looks, and just embodying Michael as a character. And let's address the topic of critics and why this movie isn't really that critically fond of. And as a cinema movie, yeah, like what can you expect? It's a biopic picture of someone's life. So like you're not going to get the theatrics and everything, but they're trying to portray it as real as possible of someone's life story. And from a movie standpoint, it's just like it can only do so much, you know? But as if you're a Michael fan, this is a treat for you. This is a treat for you, and I highly encourage you to go watch it out. You're going to have a good time. Make sure you got your singing voice on. Make sure you hit them high notes. Make sure you practice your dance moves. Hit that. Shimon. Hit that, you know, but really just have a good time. Enjoy it. And it's really going to be a blast. And just let me know what you guys think of the movie. Let me know if you like which actor do you think portrayed which character the best? Was it Jafar as Michael? Was it Coleman as Joe? Or was it someone else that we don't know? Or let me know what you thought. What was your favorite song in the movie? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to share this video with a friend so that we may continue to grow into the people that God wants us to be each and every day. As always, it's your boy D-Lou signing out. Take care. Love y'all. God bless. I'm out. Peace.